one term I have already used, total war. I have already said that the World War I had many new features that we don't find in any previous war. And World War I is considered the first total war. The first total war. Total war. What is the concept here, total war? First is, see, there was a German military commander, Erich von Ludendorff. During the First World War, he coined this term, total war. He called this war as a total war. Later in 1930s, he wrote a book. The title of the book was Total War. So there emerged a new concept of the war, total war. What is the essence of this concept, total war? Say it this way. Suppose this is this represent a country, right? All right. And this country is at war. When a country is at war, then you find the country's military plays role, not civilians. You consider all the wars earlier. So in general, you will find, excepting a few exceptions, but where also the role of civilian is not very dominant, like Civil War, US, French Revolutionary Wars, there we find some involvement of common people also. But in general, military plays a role. Fine? Now think of a situation, a war takes place, when military and the civilians both play a role. This means entire nation gets involved in the war. When we say entire nation, means entire population, population-wise first. All population. Naturally, whoever could do anything in the war. You have come to know that all healthy men were at war front. Requirement was so great in the war. Great recruitments initiated, volunteers. So it was a mobilization of military first. Then mobilization of civilian also. Why? Because home front, who will be playing a role? Who will produce arms and ammunition? Who will ensure supply? So then civilians' role became important. Then role of women also became important. Government began to mobilize the civilian population, and propaganda became a very, you can say, dominant tool in attracting people. I'm giving you some example. During the First World War in London, there were billboards and posters that mention that women, in order to save the lives of your husbands, make shells. Means your husbands are at war. If you don't make shells, SHELLS, your husbands will die. So if you want to save your husband, come out, make shells. This is what? Ideological motivation to civilians. Like this kind of slogans. Your country needs you. So naturally, what? patriotic appeal, nationalistic appeal, involvement of the civilians. So then you find the total population got involved, whoever could do anything. So total population plus total resources, total economic resource, total economic resource. We can say this in other terms also, total resources, both human and economic. So whole nation got involved in the war. All resources mobilized for the war. Human and economic. Total war. Total. All involved. Total. This is the core of this concept. And when you consider the core, then so many things get connected automatically. See, in previous period when the military was involved, it was a fight between military and military. Suppose outside with the military of other countries. So this was a fight between this. So the attack of this military was on this. But now since the civilians got involved, so the distinction between this and this got blurred. I mean, distinction between combatant and non-combatant got blurred. They became the target of attacks. Why? Because if they're destroyed, it will hamper production and supply. Home front destroyed. So, war front will be also destroyed. This in general didn't happen earlier. Result of this was vast killings. I've said 36 million casualties. Why? So industries became target, labor became target, hospitals became target. I hope you are getting my point. Is this fine? And by this time, industrial revolution, you understand? The strength of industry, you understand? Development of science and industry by this time, that got connected. So a strength of the total war was just not the strength of the professional military. Rather, it was just not the strength of professional military. It's a strength lay in a strength of science and industry. I'm giving you some examples. Tank war begins here. Tank was the British invention. Chemical warfare begins here, initiated by Germany. Submarine warfare begins here, initiated by again Germany. Air warfare beginning here again. Chemical warfare, submarine warfare, air warfare, tank warfare. So these show what? A strength of science and industry. And because of this, these kind of weapons, they had the vast devastating capacity also. So I think you understand. Through using these weapons, you can kill in great numbers and target the civilians as well. Result was what? Much greater number of casualties than what happened earlier. Now consider the societal implication of this. Societal implication. I mean, societal implications of the total war. So this is closely connected to involvement of the civilians and the killings of the civilians. Involvement of the civilians and killings of the civilians. Getting? So, what is the core of this concept, total war? And its societal implication I have explained here. Plus, First World War as a total war, a few more features are there like war of attrition, right? Plus, related to attack on civilians, some features are there. I mean, this was says. Or I have a slide I show you that will save our time. This is fine, concept is fine. Best one. Total war and societal implications. So first aspect is the name who coined this, the German military commander. He wrote a book. And second aspect is its core concept. Core concept is involvement of the entire nation. And involvement of the entire nation means so many things. See? Even involvement of colonies also, mobilization of colonies also. Do you get all the point? Oh yes, there's a mistake. And should not be there. E-R-I-C-H. So German pronunciation is Erich. 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 No, Erich. And this, not one. Phone. This way. This way. Phone. But in India, we Erich von. This way pronounce Erich von Ludendorff. Yes. So see, second aspect. Second is the core. Are you getting core? One you are getting, two you are getting, three you are getting. Four is what? See, this again shows involvement of entire nation. Military industrial complexes were created. In these complexes, military commanders, engineers, economists, sociologists, educationists, I mean, all these kind of professionals were involved to support the war. Right? So, MC, military commanders, educationists, economists, engineers, scientists, etc. to support the war efforts. Clear? And fifth, I think you understand. Even for war support, see conscription, new recruitment, rationing also introduced, new munition industries, mobilization of finance, loans, new legislation for that, mobilization of colonies also. So this shows involvement of the entire nation. So total war. So two aspects. And third is a strength of science and industry. Take the image. A strength of science and industry. This is what I have discussed just now. I have said the First World War did not rest on the strength of just professional soldiers, rather on science and industry. Submarine war, first you understand, first you understand, this is the name of the German. And see, in response to that, the Allies developed depth bombs, a small fast subchargers and destroyers. And through these, Allies could overcome the challenges of the German submarines. This is the German scientist devised because when the food supply dropped drastically, so they developed synthetic food. 3, air warfare, this is the beginning. So this you understand, German. And then, and during this time, in air warfare, the names mentioned here. These aircrafts were not the true fighter aircrafts. So the main role was small bombing raids, scouting. Scouting means getting information, vigilance, and locating submarines. And 4th is the trench warfare, machine guns, repeating rifles, fast-firing artillery, and guidance of spotter planes. Through this trench warfare, this became a dominant feature of the First World War. Thousands of mile trenches were dug on the Western Front, mainly in the Eastern Front also. And war kept on lingering. And there were 2 types of trenches, war trenches and supply and support trenches. And there is one concept in the war we use, war of attrition. First World War was a war of attrition. War of attrition. Attrition means to grind. Literal meaning is to grind the enemy. This simply means what kind of war? War, a long drawn out war. With a small gains, not big gains. In such a way, so that to exhaust the enemy eventually, so that enemy cannot sustain the war. Like in normal case, you find guerrilla warfare. Attacking, again hiding, attacking, again hiding. Trench is like what? Hiding, saving yourself. Trenches created a strong ground for war of attrition. It is something like this. Suppose these are trenches. This side the military, this side the military. Then moving, I mean trenches created. But in this case, you will find that they also need trenches, So there won't be one line. So what will happen? This will happen. Some support and supply trenches. So one side force is here and the other side force is here. So saving themselves, firing, moving, saving, firing, hiding, continuing. The purpose is small gains, little by little, and exhausting the enemy to the point when the enemy cannot sustain the war. This is known as war of attrition. And here the basic foundation was trenches. So here, see what you find. trench warfare. So this became the basis of war of attrition. Is it fine? And after this, the strength of science again, 5 and 6, tank, poison gas, this is chemical warfare. So here, so 5, 6, fine. Now the fourth aspect here is war of attrition. So I've defined already. Long, stationary, slow war with small gains. Naturally, this kind of war will involve high human cost also. Trench warfare became the foundation of this. And 1916 is known as the year of attrition on the Western Front. And after this, 5, I have discussed disappearance of the distinction between combatant and non-combatant. Result of this was all-round warfare attacks, cities and civilians under attack, genocide, I hope you understand, and apartheid. Apartheid means stateless people. Huge number became stateless. Genocide. A very good example of genocide is the huge number of Armenians killed in Italy, in lakhs. And in earlier wars, normally we find people became homeless. Now we find people becoming stateless. That is what we call apartheid. Many points are there you can use in the societal implication also. This is also a point in societal implication. What do you think? And last is, this is known as the war of goods. Why? War of goods simply means the party that will produce more and supply more will win. So in this war, what happened in the First World War? The Central Powers lost in this war in producing and supplying. Now on this basis, you can write many answers. First, how First World War was an entirely new kind of war in history. Write some issues. How First World War was an entirely new kind of war in history. How First World War was an entirely new kind of war in history. Second, new features of First World War. New features of First World War. Third, First World War as a total war. First World War as a total war. Fourth, First World War was a total war. First World War was a total war. What was its societal implications? What was its societal implications? Its societal implications. Next, First World War rested not on the strength of professional soldiers only. Not on the strength of professional soldiers only. Not on the strength of professional soldiers only. comma, but on the strength of civilians and science also.